What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's the Game Week 1 preview, another video that I do every single game week throughout the season. In this one, we cover the latest news, hot topics, and any of the questions that you've put to me on Twitter as well. So if you don't want to miss out on this and any of the other content that I'll be doing throughout the 2022-23 season, make sure you hit subscribe and obviously give the video a like if you enjoy it as well. Just before we jump into the first topic, I wanted to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Fantasy Football Scout. If you haven't already checked them out, there is a handy link in the top of the description below so you can get signed up to become a premium member. In some videos I've gone through specific tools. In this one I just want to talk through just how many there are that are going to help you build your Game Week 1 squad, but also help you manage it throughout the season as well. So the season ticker is one of my favourite tools. You can increase and decrease the amount of game weeks that you see, and if you want to see whether a player rotates with another team well, all you have to do, for example, is click onto Brighton. Let's say you wanted someone like Lewis Dunk. You could then click on rotation and it would show you which teams rotate best with them. You could even be looking at maybe a Lewis Dunk and Leon Bailey rotation because Villa and Brighton fixtures are pretty good. So that's one way you can use that. You've also got a comparison tool. So if you want to compare, say, Son, for example, from last year, how well he did against Harry Kane, you can do that. And then below it will populate a bunch of graphs and stats that you can take a look at. There's a Rate My Team tool, which is super handy. So you can see if you're stuck over a particular transfer decision, which one might be slightly better for you if you absolutely cannot decide. There's projections as well, 6 game week projections, so who's going to score the most points. And that's not even the end of it. There's loads of other tools in there. So if you want to explore yourself, click that link in the description below. Get signed up as a premium member. You can pay monthly or yearly. Get using it before Game Week 1. Super handy. So first question's about Kane and Haaland. Is it better to stick with either Kane or Haaland for a few weeks or alternate between them in the first few game weeks? So there's no issue on using transfers for premium players to attack fixtures. I would prefer to prioritise those transfers when captaincy is at stake. So when I need a premium player in because of captaincy, then I'm definitely going to do it. Outside of that, I'd maybe less inclined to do it depending on what else is going on with my team. So let's say you wanted to, whoever you had, right, it doesn't really matter, but let's say you had Kane and you wanted to switch to Haaland in Game Week 4 and you've already got Salah who's got Bournemouth at home, you're probably just going to captain Salah anyway. So that use of your transfer might not be as effective as it could be in other weeks, unless of course you're going to keep them for an extended period of time. If you are looking at, say, keeping a player for 2 weeks, transferring one out for another 2 weeks, then back in for another 2 weeks, that's probably not a great use of transfers. It could work out, but especially in the early stages of the season, I'd be very careful about booking too many transfers in. Again, you can do that to try and maximise points. There will be other stuff that comes up. 100%, no FPL manager is immune from the bandwagons, and there will be transfers that you need to make early, especially when it comes to price rises. So if we look at their fixtures, the funny thing is, a lot of people are looking at starting with Kane and switching to Haaland in Game Week 2. But I actually think you might be better off starting with Haaland and switching to Kane in Game Week 3. Okay, so you skip that Chelsea away fixture and you have Haaland for Bournemouth at home. Yes, of course, Haaland and Man City have got a tougher fixture in Game Week 1, but there's nothing to say they can't score in that game. And then if you look at the next 4, they're not really that much more difficult for either one. But with Kane, you get Forest and Fulham in the next 4 fixtures. With Haaland, you only get Forest. The other fixtures are Villa and Crystal Palace, which are maybe a little bit tougher. Of course, Kane does have West Ham away. You can also just wait and see what happens after 2 game weeks. If Haaland's looking brilliant, maybe Wolves are defending a little bit better or something crazy like that, you might not want to make the switch. But I'm looking at it thinking, start with Haaland, then switch to Kane, not the other way around, because you only give them 1 fixture then you get Haaland in for Bournemouth, and then if you're then going to use a transfer in Game Week 3 or 4 to go back the other way, I think that's just too many. So I would just make your decision for the first couple of game weeks. Are you happy to have Kane for Southampton at home and just stick him into that Chelsea away fixture and hope that he can come away with something? Or do you want to start with Haaland and just go from there? I think the one thing that a lot of us are talking about, and I'm definitely doing this as well, we're assuming that Haaland is just going to be nailed on and play kind of 80 to 90 minutes every week. We don't know that for sure, but given how much game time he got against Liverpool in the Community Shield, and obviously there is pretty much a week rest between all of these games until Europe starts, I think he'll be pretty good, right? There's going to be a slightly new way of playing for Man City. The only way for them to work that out is for him to play. So I'm pretty confident on his starts and his minutes, but I guess I am slightly more doubtful than I am with Kane. So if that plays into your mind, you could just start with Kane. I don't want to sit on the fence. There's no right or wrong answer. Kane versus Southampton at home is definitely better than Haaland versus West Ham away. But for me, over the first two, I think Haaland's the better option. That's probably why I'll choose him. Not completely ruling him out, moving him to Kane for game week 3. But I don't think over those first 6 weeks, I'd want to use 2 transfers, getting these 2 players in and then back out again. So this question's about Arsenal attack. Is triple Arsenal attack, Jesus, Saka and Martinelli in particular, who I would agree are probably the best 3, a bad idea? In isolation, I think they're all the best picks at their price point, but it could go very wrong if Arsenal do badly. So ultimately, in FPL, and I know this sounds obvious, but we all complicate it in one way or another, the only goal in FPL is to get the most points. So if you think these are the best players at their price points, and you've got that much money to spend, they really should be the 3 that you're picking. And I would definitely agree that Martinelli and Jesus, £6 million mid, £8 million forward, are the best options. Saka, there's more of a conversation to be had. It could be Diaz, it could be Mason Mount, but it's so close that if you think Saka's the best, that's absolutely fair enough. So there's no reason you shouldn't get them. I get the psychological issue that if they go out and play against Crystal Palace, Palace defend as well as they did last year, they beat Arsenal 1-0, then suddenly it seems like you've got a pretty bad team because you've got 3 attackers that have all blanked. You're then worried if that's going to happen. I think if you do this, you have to be able to hold your nerve. You have to just accept, okay, that can happen. All 3 players can blank in one game, and then they've got good fixtures after that. They've got Leicester, Bournemouth and Fulham within the next 3 game weeks. So you have to be able to hold your nerve. It's also worth noting, very rarely do players score every single week, right? Even like Salah, even like Son, even like Kane. Obviously, you can get very lucky sometimes, get a player in for 6 weeks, then transfer them out, then the next player scores for the next 6 weeks and so on. But that doesn't happen that often. So if they do all blank in one game, that's not the end of the world. In the next game, Saka might score twice, Martinelli might get an assist, and Jesus might blank. That's fine. Jesus is not going to get points every week. Next game, Jesus might score, the other 2 might blank. And that tends to be what happens with players. It's very rare that they will get returns every single week. So the short answer is there's nothing wrong with doing this, but I think it does take a certain FPL manager to go for it. If you're someone that's going to panic as soon as they all blank in one game, I probably would just split your teams up a little bit and maybe go for Mount or Diaz instead of Saka, or Neto or Bailey instead of Martinelli, or whoever it is. But ultimately, yeah, nothing wrong with this if you think they're the best picks at their price. So this is an interesting question. Is a 1 premium strategy viable to start the season? So we're talking about attackers having just one of Salah, De Bruyne, Haaland, Kane or Son in our teams. The short answer is yes. I do think it's viable. I think if you're going to do it, it has to be with Salah. I think if you look at the opening 6 game weeks, he's either the best, or at least on paper, the best or close to the best captain option. I think he's better than Haaland and De Bruyne as an FPL player from game week 1. And Kane and Son have Chelsea away in game week 2. So that would worry me straight away. You could possibly captain someone else, but I'd look to always try and captain a premium. So if you're going to do it, it has to be Salah. Would I do it though? Probably not. I think yes, there is a lot of value there. You can get all the good defenders, Robertson, Trent, Cancelo, James, etc., and get a couple of the £8 million midfielders and still have Jesus. So overall the team looks very good. It's packed with value. It still has a great captain, and if it pays off, it probably will do a lot better than the 2 premium attacker drafts. My main worry at the start of the season is being able to react to what's happening. Like, I don't agree with people that say we've got nothing to go on. The data is irrelevant. The data is useless. We know going into this season who's likely to be the best players. We know going into this season who's likely to be the best fixture to target, right? We know all that, but it doesn't mean it will happen. And at the start of the season, there's probably the most chance of something going wrong or something being not quite what you thought it was. So having that Haaland or that Kane pick in your team, or even Son or De Bruyne, lets you change around those premiums a little bit easier than having all the money spread around. So that's really my biggest fear, and that is why I'd probably start with a structure that has 2 premium attackers. Again, this kind of comes down to like what I said about the Arsenal triple up in attack. If you're going to go with this strategy, you have to be able to hold your nerve. If Salah blanks in game week 1, the other premiums smash it, you can't suddenly then start to shift them around or start to rip up your team to get another premium in. You've got to be prepared to at least try it for 2 to maybe 4 weeks before you start kind of backing out and deciding it was a bad idea. So yeah, it's viable. I won't be doing it. If you are going to do it, make sure you can stick with it at least for a few weeks. So this question's about price points. Is covering price points as important as in previous seasons due to the potential for an early wildcard? For example, could we go without an £8 million midfielder? So there's kind of two parts to this, right? So for anyone that hasn't followed so far in pre-season, the early wildcard is more viable because we know we're going to get unlimited transfers for the World Cup. So there's not necessarily a need to hold on to the wildcard as long. I also don't think that really changes a huge amount in how we build our Game Week 1 squads necessarily, because you still don't know, for some people at least, exactly when you're going to use it. And if you're not going to end up using it until Game Week 9 or 10, you don't want to go too crazy necessarily in Game Week 1, although you could argue you can do that because you got that safety net, you can use it if you want. So maybe there is a little bit less reason to worry about these price points. But on the other side, I would say people worry about price points maybe a little bit too much. If you haven't got an £8 million midfielder, look at your team. How many moves does it take to get to one? If you look at the drafts that I released yesterday, the 4-4-2 takes 2 transfers to go from Diaz to a more expensive defender if I want to move to 5 at the back. The 5 at the back takes 2 moves by downgrading Robertson and upgrading the midfielder to get an £8 million midfielder in. So it's just 2 moves either way. Of course, if you've already got that £8 million player in your team, then yes, it might just be 1 transfer. But as soon as price changes happen, or possibly you've got Saka and you want to get Diaz or Mount as well, not instead of, then that's going to take extra moves to shift funds around as well. So I wouldn't overthink this too much, right? I know I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit because I said I will definitely start with Haaland or Kane to have that extra premium attacker in. But outside of that, I don't think there's so much you can do with the money that you can really screw yourself over for most moves. So yeah, I wouldn't panic. If you don't want to go for an £8 million midfielder, you really don't have to. So I wanted to quickly talk about the Jota injury because a lot of people are still deciding about Robertson versus Diaz. Obviously, this affects Diaz a little bit more because once Jota's back fit, he will impact his minutes. We don't necessarily know how much straight away, but at some point it will likely happen, even if it's much earlier substitutions. So according to Anfield Watch, who looks like they got this from the Daily Mail, Diogo Jota is due back in training within a fortnight after aggravating a hamstring injury last month. It is worth noting again, we will get press conferences before the Game Week 1 deadline, and I'm sure Klopp will be questioned about this as well. But if we think right now there's only a few days to Game Week 1 and he's only going to be back training within a fortnight, so let's say it's 1.5 weeks, even the full 2 weeks, he's probably not going to be available until Game Week 3 at the earliest. I would probably say Game Week 4, possibly even later, okay? Because it depends how quickly he gets into training, is up to match fitness. And obviously, if Diaz is playing well, there's no real reason to kind of rush Jota back. So I think Diaz is probably going to be good, not being a doctor myself, but probably, unless Klopp says otherwise, going to be good for at least the first 3 to 4 games without too many issues in terms of his game time. So I still think he's a really good option. The problem is I don't have a great opinion on who's better out of Robertson and Diaz in general. I think it depends who you prefer as your other option. I quite like the option of having Leon Bailey as a bit of a squad rotation with Robertson versus having Diaz and Nico Williams. And obviously, if Jota is back a bit earlier, that's not going to affect Robertson as much as it does from Diaz. And Robertson, of course, has a bit of competition and someone that can come in when he needs a rest in Costas Tsimikas, but he doesn't get rotated that often, right? Him and Trent play a lot of games and a lot of minutes. So I think if you want to be absolutely sure, then just go for Robertson. But I think this does probably, with Jota out, it probably does make Diaz the best £8 million midfielder, maybe on a par with Saka if Saka definitely has penalties. So if you want to go for it and you want to go a little bit more attacking, there's no reason not to go for Diaz. I don't think Jota's going to be available until like maybe Game Week 3 or 4 or maybe even later. And even then, it doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be starting ahead of Diaz. Okay, so Chelsea. How much of a concern is Chelsea's pre-season form? Seems like the community is hopping off of players such as Mendy, Mount and Reece James as well. It's quite funny because, and I do this as well, everyone starts pre-season. What's the number one tip that any FPL content creator on Twitter or YouTube or whatever says? Don't look at pre-season form. It means absolutely nothing. A team then loses and suddenly we're worried about their players. It is worth noting, right? So they won their first game, they drew their second, they lost that 4-0 game to Arsenal, and then they had 2 games games against Udinese where they won both of them. So it's not like they've been losing all their games. They have won some. Obviously, the comments from Tuchel about the final third and how well they were working in attack wasn't great. I can see why people aren't going for the likes of Havertz. Sterling is probably a bit expensive. I still personally think that Mason Mount is perfectly fine. I don't think Chelsea have suddenly become a bad team overnight just because they lost 4-0 to Arsenal. Whether or not Mount is the best 8 million is kind of up for debate. I still think that Diaz and Saka are probably ahead of him right now, but who knows? In a few weeks' time, we might swap that back to Mason Mount. I don't even think that Mendy's necessarily a bad idea. For my own personal team, and maybe subconsciously, there is some thoughts about that Arsenal game. I've gone for kind of a split. So I've still got Reece James, but I've got Ramsdale. So I've got one Chelsea, one Arsenal defender, rather than having two from the same team. But I think that's okay. If you don't want Ramsdale, you've got an Arsenal defender already. Mendy is probably the second best £5 million goalkeeper to go for. And Reece James, I've never really reconsidered at all. He's been pretty much in my draft from day one and hasn't left. I think if he starts as a right wing back, which is what I'm expecting because that's where he usually plays, he's going to be fantastic. And again, that preseason form doesn't worry me. And also, you got to remember they're playing other teams. They're playing Everton first game. Have Everton had a great preseason? Are we suddenly expecting Everton to get one over on Chelsea? I know some people have said in the comments before, I think that Everton have got a pretty good record maybe against Chelsea. Maybe it's at home. But ultimately, I would still bank on Chelsea winning that game more often than not. And their fixtures to start off are pretty good. So I'm not letting it affect me too much. Mason Mount has been in and out of my drafts. I think I'll probably go with Diaz or Saka instead. That could have happened even if Chelsea had won all their pre-season games. Mendy, I still think is an okay option, but I've gone for Ramsdale instead. And I love Reece James. Unless they sign a new right wing back before game week 1, he will be in my draft, barring injury. So I know we've talked about Salah a lot, but this question came in quite a bit and has done during pre-season. Is it possible to start the FPL season without Salah? And the obvious answer is yes. Of course it's possible. You just transfer him out of your team and put someone else in. If you want to back Kane and Haaland or Kane and De Bruyne or Son and De Bruyne, whatever combination it is of other premium attackers, you should absolutely go for it, right? If that's how you want to play the game. And if it works out, yeah, you'll be ahead of all of us that have gone for Salah. For me, like I find this kind of question hard to tackle because my opinion is he's the best FPL player probably ever. He doesn't look like slowing up. I don't really see what people are seeing to think that he's not going to do the same as he has done over the last 5 seasons. Let's not forget, that was his 5th season at Liverpool last year. That was his 2nd highest score ever. The guy's on penalties. His underlying stats are pretty much the best in the league, and he's done it consistently for 5 years. He's also got Fulham away on the opening day of the season. So this is my question to anyone that's going without him. And again, absolutely up to you. It's your team. I wish you the best of luck if you do it. What's the plan if he gets 2 or 3 goals against Fulham? Because at that point, you shouldn't really be knee-jerking. You know what Salah's capable of. That is not new information. Salah scoring a brace or a hat-trick, it's not like we don't expect that from him anyway. So if, again, I've talked about this quite a bit in this video, if you are going to be a manager that knee-jerks as soon as that happens, you have to get Salah in, just get him in from game week 1 because we already know that's what he's capable of. If, for example, I don't know, a lesser known player like someone under 7 million we're not really sure about suddenly bangs in 2 or 3 goals during the first game week, we might take note of that and think, well, hang on, are they playing in a different position? Are they being asked to play in a different way? Are they going to be getting closer to goal? That's new information. Salah scoring a brace is not new information. So for me, we know what the guy can do. He is the best player in the game. He's got a newly promoted side to start in game week 1. He also has a newly promoted side in game week 4. He will definitely be in my team, but is it possible to start without him? Of course. If you want to play the game like that, go for it. So there we go. Hopefully that one was useful. If it was, please do drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button if you are new around here as well. I know I probably didn't cover absolutely everything that you wanted me to. I am going to do a final thoughts video probably on Thursday evening. For anyone new to the channel, that's like a mashup between team selection and the game week preview. And I try and give my final thoughts as late as possible during the week where hopefully we got some new information. But yeah, there you go. There's a lot of your questions answered. I'll be doing this video every single week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you give the video a like. Check out Fantasy Football Scout, link at the top of the description below, and I'll catch you again later for another video.